fight? Or you want to win? Last night I had a dream that the world had turned around. All our hopes had come to be. The revolution starts now.
What a swell party this is.
Remember this moment. You're here, you're right here, and you're ready to fight.
Welcome, Masters and Padawans, to episode 578 of Full of Sith. Listen, third week in a row, you're stuck with me, Holly Frey. And with me is one of my very favorite guests. Not related to me, but in my heart, Max Frey. Max, welcome back to the show.
Hi, Holly. Thanks for having me.
Max, who, as we all recall, works at Regal Robot, is a costumer, is a super Star Wars fan, all-around cool gent.
Oh, well, thank you.
And we have so much to talk about this round.
We do.
So
very exciting.
Everybody brace.
Strap in.
Okay, the first thing we're going to talk about, because we're going to hit three things. We got a little Andor trailer. We got a little news we're going to talk about. And then we're going to talk about a list of things we love, which has kind of become one of my favorite formats for the show. In our troubled times, it's good for the soul.
Yeah, it soothes.
Yeah. Okay, so that Andor trailer.
Yeah.
Cancel therapy. I'm covered. I can just keep watching this. What was your... First of all, it kind of came out of nowhere. We did not get any hints ahead of time.
No, I've been aware of people wondering where it's been or where it had been for a while. Like every once in a while, you know, if you still go over to Twitter now, X, or maybe even on Threads and other places, everybody's been asking or had been asking, where's the Andor trailer? Why is there no Andor trailer? So I think it kind of dropped about, it was almost 2 months exactly till the premiere date.
Yeah.
So I guess that's their thing. Could have seen that coming maybe, but I did not. But yeah, it was a nice surprise.
Yeah, we didn't get any of those tomorrow on Good Morning America, tomorrow on look out for the trailer coming this week. It was just like, I saw an email from StarWars.com and I was like, what?
Yeah. Oh, and no, my mistake. It was, 2 months. Sorry, I was going to say it was 1 month, but yeah, 2 months. Anyway.
Time is a flat circle. It's fine.
Yeah, I was at work and I went into my boss's office and we talked about it, immediately. I didn't actually get to watch it with the sound at first. But, when Star Wars news hits, that's a reason to go into your boss's office where I work. So that's a fun thing.
Yes. Yeah. I think if I went into my boss's office, I don't even know where my boss's office is anymore. I'm just having this, I'm realizing it as I'm saying the words. I would text him.
There you go.
I guess, but
yeah,
he's not a rabid Star Wars fan. He'd be like, "That's cool. Are you gonna be at this event we asked you about?" He would not. No. But so, I don't know where my boss's office is. Okay. Anyway, To be fair, I work from home all the time.
Yeah,
But I want your first takes on it.
sure.
So
I
you
mean,
didn't have it with the song that some people hate.
yeah, obviously I watched it when I got home and I saw the whole thing and with the song didn't bother me.
Me either.
That was one of the comments that I've been hearing a lot about. Obviously, I get why they did it. It casts a wider net. I think trying to get a wider audience to come in and check out season 2 if you haven't already been invested
Yeah.
in watching season 1. I think it probably appeals to non-Star Wars fans. I think as a Star Wars fan, you want that big dramatic music, from Andor or maybe some other Star Wars music, but it worked and it was fine. And the trailer looks incredible. I can't get over the fact that I'm sure we'll get to this, but I can't get over the fact that it's gonna be over in such a short period of time. And the entire series will
Yeah.
only now last, I think, a month.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be an incredible viewing experience. So I'm personally not too distraught about that.
Me either. I have strong opinions and thoughts that may get me, burned as a witch. But listen, I understand that people don't like the trailer because of the music. I haven't heard many people other than people that already didn't like Andor complaining about the content of the trailer in terms of actually what we got. But
Hmm.
here's my thing. This is, as most fandom would agree. I know there are people that don't connect with it, and I'm not dogging them at all. But overall, this is the thing that most Star Wars fans think is amazing.
Yeah.
Of, all of the, last, 15 years even. Like, it's pretty stellar. And it is in a way that other Star Wars is not perceived by mainstream critics as being like exceptional.
Mm-hmm.
And I I don't know what fans want. Because here's the thing, right? Like
Yeah.
we all, of course, we know Star Wars, we live Star Wars, come in with a clue horn on that thing, like let's make it weird. But it's like on the one hand, people don't like the idea of Star Wars being, not recognized as great. But then when it is recognized as great and it's marketed like any other piece of prestige television, they're like, no, no, not like that. Don't
Mm-hmm.
tell other people. We want to keep a secret about it. And I'm like, that's how it
Oh, is
works.
that the vibe you're getting?
It's not no, I don't think they're making that connection of
I
like
see.
if you don't market it that way, like you said, that it casts a broader net and explains to a wider audience what's coming versus if it was like a very in-universe
Yeah.
hyper kind of narrow focus in terms of like what those of us that live and breathe this all the time connect to. You're not going to get as many eyeballs on it. You're not going to get as much excitement for it
Yeah.
at a
I mean,
time when a lot of discussion of numbers happens, which I think fans shouldn't be talking about anyway, but that's a whole
right.
other thing.
Yeah.
Cast the net, it's
Cast
so
the net.
good.
Exactly. I mean, look, you and I, like, I think we're fairly representative of people who, Star Wars fans who watched the first season of Andor. We're in. You don't need to sell it to us.
Hmm.
And I think, as you're saying, it's one of those, out of all the new Star Wars shows or various media, probably since the Disney acquisition, it's probably the media that most Star Wars fans agree is great.
Yeah.
I think it's probably the least divisive, most unanimously loved Star Wars, whatever. I mean, and for good reason. It's terrific.
Yeah.
You don't need to sell it to those people. So, and
Right.
that's a lot of people. So, yeah, they're going to go a different way. And they're going to, the other thing is, I was talking to a friend who pointed out that it felt like almost for your consideration, prestige,
Yeah.
sort of real almost like, and it does. And also, it's worth noting that they're one of the reasons potentially they're airing it as quickly as they are is, I guess, in order to make the cutoff for the Emmy Awards
Yeah.
consideration. So
Yeah.
they
Which is
know they
also
have
fine
a
by
winner.
me.
Yeah, they know they have a winner on their hands, and they're going for awards, they're going for a wide audience, they're going for the numbers, and good for them. They should get it.
I also think it's a really unique opportunity, right? Because Andor is something that all of us that are already signed on want to see. Every once in a while, I bump against someone on the internet that says it's really boring, and I'm just like,
Um,
I'm not from your country. I do not know your ways. Like, I don't know how to connect to
are
that.
we
But
speaking a different language? Because
right,
I
I'm
don't
like,
understand what you're saying.
were we in the same hemisphere? I don't know. Anyway,
Look, it did have a bit of a slow burn. If someone didn't give it a chance at first,
I don't
maybe.
know. That whole crazy, like, you know, running from the collapsing building after that weird first meeting between Cassian and Luthen, I'm like, this doesn't feel slow to me. So I don't, man, everybody
Yeah,
has their
no.
own stuff. It's fine. But my point being that because this is so overall beloved, this offers a unique opportunity to Disney Plus to test out different streaming models. Like you want to put
Mm,
your A plus content if you're going to start messing with, I don't know, what if we did three at a time? Do it with that because that's how you're going to see how it performs. I mean, I think it's interesting. We're in an age when no media distributor quite knows the best way anymore, right? There's no one best way. There's no one way that is not going to get fussing from the fan base. So you might as well try stuff and see what happens.
yeah. And if the industry is moving away from streaming, which I think there was a lot of talk about last year, if Disney's moving away from streaming and towards in theater movies for the Star Wars franchise,
Yeah, I don't
then
know.
it may, I don't know either, but if they are, then maybe it makes sense that they're almost airing these as three movies.
Which is great.
Yeah,
My goodness. Listen, as a
going to be very
person
exciting.
that lived for many years with no Star Wars,
Yes,
a Star Wars movie each week? Are you kidding me?
sign me up.
Am I near a gas leak? This sounds amazing.
and I
um,
think and I think more than even the first season, um, because we know that we're getting the second season of Andor in, I think they put it, four chapters of 3 episodes each.
yeah,
Do I have that right?
yes.
So I think more than the first season, these episodes, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the way they're being grouped as, 3 episodes together, I think maybe, I wonder if there's a concern that one of those episodes on their own might not be as compelling, or
Oh, that's interesting. I hadn't
you
really thought
know
about that.
because basically what you're doing is, I guess, it's like a 3 act story or a 3 act movie. You wouldn't necessarily want to go to the theater and just see the first act of a movie or just see the second act of a
Right.
movie. Third act of a movie is usually pretty exciting, but you might have some people getting a little antsy in their seats for some of those others. So I don't know. We'll see.
I'm excited. Let's talk a little bit about the content of it
Yeah, let's. I
because
mean,
we get a lot of visual stuff with no real context for any of it, which is
no,
kind of like crack to me. I love that.
yeah,
But I know that's because I'm a junkie, so
I have some guesses, and I saw some links, and there are definitely pieces from what seemed to be the same uh, scene or setting, clips throughout the trailer interspersed. So I think I'm very curious, because generally what they do with these trailers is they show us things only from usually like the first episode or two,
yeah.
right? Um, and I wonder if that's the case in this one, except of course, for a couple shots that I have a feeling come later. I mean, do you just want to go through it from
Yeah,
the beginning? Just talk about it that way?
I do.
Okay.
The montage of from behind Cassian as he wreaks havoc and walks down hallways.
Yeah. Well, so I have my notes here and I went through, and so the first uh, two shots. So I think the first shot is, again, as you said, from behind, and you have this sort of like pale rock column and architecture, and that's what leads into I think like an explosion or stormtroopers
Yeah.
firing. So, and I've seen people discuss this already, so I can't say that I thought of it, but it seems like perhaps this is the infamous Gorman massacre.
Maybe.
Yeah. So that's apparently
We'll find
a
out.
pivotal event in Star Wars history where Mon Mothma finally declares her opposition to Palpatine and the Empire, and she gets declared or labeled, I guess, a terrorist, or I don't know how they're going to put it, but yeah, she gets put on the wanted list. So she joins the Rebel Alliance, I guess, after that point, because it seems like there are people, there's civilians, you have the Empire gunning down civilians,
Right.
etc. So
Right.
could be that.
I also like that it's shots just in terms of like visual language. It's shots from behind him, from behind him, from behind him, from behind him, straight on in front of him when it looks like they are at the Masasi Temple and like in the Rebel Enclave. And I like that that's like where we actually see him in his entirety for the first time in the trailer.
Yeah,
Um, just visually, it's a cool moment.
it's very cool.
I'm so excited for this show.
That seems, I mean, we'll jump to that since you mentioned it, but that seems probably one of the last episodes of the series, I would
That's what I'm
guess.
thinking too, in which
Yeah.
case it is really interesting that it's not just the first couple of episodes clippies that we're getting.
Yeah, I mean, so throughout, like, a couple things seem to happen where, the other thing that makes me question whether or not we're just getting content from the first couple of episodes is any of the footage with Bix. Like,
Yeah.
it seems like maybe because we left her in season 1, she was
A
being
mess.
held captive, right? Was she still
No,
being
they
held?
had gotten her
Oh,
onto
they
the
got her
ship.
out. Oh, that's right. Okay.
Yes, she was a little messy, but he got her there.
Okay.
Because then he leaves and he tells B2, like, you got to take care of her.
Okay. Thank you for refreshing my memory. Yeah. I was going to say that I felt like maybe that stuff came later, but so I take that back. So everything could be from early on, except for that shot of him on Yavin, because clearly he has that cool Rings of Kaffrine jacket on, even in that shot.
Yeah. Yeah. Spoiler alert, more jacket talk coming in a moment. There is and I'm kind of going in order, but I'm not picking every single shot. So just
That's fine.
FYI if you're like, you
Yeah.
jumped.
Okay.
There is a very agrarian looking wheat fieldy planet
Yes.
or location, which I know some people think might be Dantooine.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts?
So I thought maybe Dantooine, but also we've seen Lothal kind of looks like that as well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know necessarily that it makes, if there's a narrative necessity for us to visit Lothal, but maybe something happens that will make that make sense. It seems so. There's a shot of Cassian piloting that special TIE fighter. I don't know what it's called.
Yeah, because the action figure that we've seen,
Yeah,
it just says that it's like a Sinar pilot.
test pilot.
Right. So we
Yeah,
just know that it's
yeah. I
some
think
new
I've seen
Sinar
some.
Industries.
I think it's possible somebody somewhere has a name for that ship, but I don't recall what it is. Like, I think maybe it's been revealed, maybe in some other merchandising. But in any case, you see a POV of that ship shooting what looks like some sort of Imperial transport. I believe that is, and blowing it up. I think that's on this wheat field planet.
Certainly looks like it.
And then there's somebody running through the wheat field, and I think a shot of stormtroopers firing, and that's, I think, all clearly or presumably the same planet, right?
Looks like,
and then
yes.
there's a shot of Brasso being held back or being seized by stormtroopers that looks like it's on that planet with
the
big
way that gave
Yeah.
me Mama Bear anger. I really love Brasso.
I know you do, yeah.
And I'm just like, I will come for you. Like I had an irrationally angry response to seeing him being manhandled by stormtroopers.
I was very excited to see him. For some reason, I wasn't sure we were going to see him in season 2. So I'm psyched that we are. Behind him, and this is just a side note, really, there were these big structures that looked very Ralph McQuarrie-esque.
Yeah, they look almost like granaries, but in
Uh-huh.
the way only Star Wars can represent them.
That's that's very well put. I think that's exactly right. Um, I kind of got like a feeling like maybe Brasso had been hiding out there, maybe, and that they found him. I have no idea.
Well, and those granaries are what makes me think that might be Dantooine. Because do you remember from Resistance?
Oh,
There was a little bit of Dantooine action, and it looked very much like that with the granaries.
no, I don't remember that.
I need to go back and revisit it. I hope I did not just talk out my behind, but I'm pretty sure that was a Resistance episode. Um,
That would be very cool.
yeah. Yeah, and don't manhandle Brasso. I will cut you, stormtroopers. That's all they need is one angry mama bear reaction, and then the Empire would be dead.
That's what would make you join the Rebel Alliance, I think, probably is
Maybe.
protecting Brasso.
There are a
Yeah.
few things, but I do want to protect him.
Yeah.
He's a sweet dude who's in
He
touch with his
is.
feelings and does nice things for his friends. And I will never, ever, ever, ever not love the way in the first season he just casually sabotaged that Primor ship when he's like leaving the salvage yard and just clonks it into a situation where it's going to be um tethered down. I was just like, you casual genius. Wicked and wonderful. How do you feel about the rite of spring dancing?
You mean that Renaissance painting come to life? Like
Yes.
beautiful,
Yes, it's very
beautiful looking shots.
it's very Botticelli. It's very
Yeah.
it's really gorgeous. We
It's like the
presume,
Sistine Chapel ceiling, like it's a Michelangelo painting come to life or something with
yeah.
the movement and the colors and the
What you made me think of, my brain of course jumps to the weird thing, but have you been to the Sistine Chapel?
I have.
You know that painting where Michelangelo has done the portrait of oh, I'm forgetting who it is, where it's just their skin.
Ooh, no.
There's there's one really grisly thing included.
That's
It's
very
not in the
grisly.
ceiling, it's in one of the frescoes on the wall.
Okay.
And I just was like, who's the person with no skin? Um,
Hate to be that person.
right?
Yeah.
I'm meaning in Star Wars and probably a lot. But so that is presumably
Mm-hmm.
one of these arcs will involve the wedding
Yes.
of
That
the
was my
bratty
take as well.
child.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think Mon Mothma at that point, like, because what I love is a little bit later in the trailer just cuts to her and she's just dancing her butt off.
Yeah,
Her hair is all messed and she's just,
she's
I
in it.
imagine maybe she's had a little, she's imbibed a little bit and she's just
Maybe.
throwing her cares, caution to the wind, cares to the wind. What's the saying I'm looking for?
Caution to the wind, yeah.
That doesn't
Maybe.
make sense
Or
here.
she's carefree.
We'll say carefree. She's dancing, she's carefree. We can cut that earlier part out where I fumble. Um and yeah, I think she's kind of it's almost like somebody dancing at the end of the world, like she just does not give a crap anymore.
Yeah, I mean, my personal read, and before we started recording, Max and I were discussing that I am listening to Alexander Freed's new book, which is very Mothma centric. So that is informing my take on all of this. But so much of what we've gotten about Mon Mothma, when we have gotten more kind of in-depth looks at her, she is always measuring like the ebb and flow of what is right for the galaxy versus the morality of day-to-day life. And I mean, we see it in season 1, right, where she throws her husband under the bus. Listen, he's a jerk. I feel a little less like that after reading this book, but I feel like she recognizes she has gone to a point that is so far, right? She has agreed, apparently, to marry her kid off to Davos Skulden's kid. it's just like, well, the cow's been flung. We might as well have a great party. Like it
Yeah.
feels like that to me of like she knows
Yeah,
she's hit the point of no return and she may as well just get her dance on.
I think that's right. I think that's kind of what I was trying to get at, but you put it much more eloquently.
I don't know that I would say it's eloquent. Who's the dead guy in the
In the hangar, as
yes,
the
hangar
partisan
was the word
X-wings are,
eluding me. Yeah,
is
while
that
all the
partisan X-wings are
X-Wings
taken off? I have no
fire
idea.
up.
Doesn't look like an Imperial. He has rebel colors on, or rebel-like colors on. I don't
Yeah.
know. I
Of
don't know
course,
who that
in my
is.
head, I concocted a cockamamie backstory, which might not
Oh
be
wait,
cockamamie.
I actually now have a thought now that you've asked, but you go ahead with your cockamamie
Well,
backstory.
I wonder if this isn't the evacuation of Dantooine. That may be an Imperial that they have thrown a rebel uniform on, and
Ooh.
they're up outy, and they're like, look, they'll see bodies. It's cool.
Oh, I like that. I
But
like
I
that a
don't.
lot.
I'm kind of constructing that from scraps. So, but gosh, that's a pretty shot of those X-wings taken off.
Gorgeous.
Ugh.
I saw a tweet or some other social post from a designer that worked on Rogue One who was apparently very happy to see their designs they had done for these partisan X-Wings that were done for Rogue One but didn't make it in, and now being realized in Andor season 2.
Yeah,
So that's very cool.
it's very cool.
So my idea, look, and it's a bad one as I'm about to say it, but I'm thinking about um, who could be a good guy slash rebel who dies in season 2. I'm sure there will be many, but seeing as how, there is a certain character who only shows up in a single shot in this trailer,
I thought the same thing.
which makes me think how long we're going to have them around. It's
Mhm.
not an outfit that I could picture Luthen wearing, really. This
No.
sort of orange coverall or whatever color it was, yellow orangey coverall. But it there's a sort of there. Saw Gerrera and Luthen have an adversarial relationship. They know they're on the same side, but obviously they have very different ways of doing things.
Yes.
And what if Luthen's you know finds himself on the wrong end of a disagreement with Saw Gerrera? What happens then?
Do you know what my brain went back to as I too was like, wow, we got 1 second of Luthen Rail in this trailer,
Yeah.
not even speaking. And I was like, oh damn, was that extraordinary monologue that he had of making his mind a sunless place? Was
Mm.
that his Blaze of Glory speech that we get as a character? Like, was that the one? And I don't know, but
Could be. I mean, it's a hell of a speech.
there are worse
Certainly.
ways to end a character,
Yeah,
but I want more because I love him.
he's the best. He seemed to be wearing his upper class,
His
antique shop
antiquarian ensemble.
attire and hairpiece. Unless, of course, the time has passed and his hair has naturally grown, which I suppose is possible, but more likely that he's in his, get up,
Shop. Yeah.
his shop. I don't know if it's a disguise per se, but
Persona.
persona. There you go.
Persona. He's just code switching. Um, do you follow? I'm gonna invoke another person.
Hmm.
Elizabeth, who posts as Mara. You do follow her, I know. Mara J. Skywalker's on Instagram, and she's also on TikTok. She noticed a thing that I had also noticed. I notice it because it's just in my rabies wheelhouse, where there's that moment where Cassian is running from an explosion, and the building that he's in has this beautiful mosaic-y looking spider in it.
Yes, actually, I did notice that.
Obsessed.
Yeah.
I don't feel qualified to speak on her thoughts on it because
Okay.
she referenced a number of things that were shown in the sizzle reel that came out at Celebration, which I was not in the room
Ooh,
for because I was the downside of getting to host cool things at Celebration is that you miss everything else at Celebration.
sure.
Um, So I did not see that. But she has some interesting theories. I just want to point people at that if they haven't listened, because she references some imagery in that sizzle footage that includes spiders, which is pretty interesting.
That's cool.
And she's just a smart and cool, interesting person. So, but I really like, listen, we love a Krykna at our house. I say we, but I mean me, because that opinion is not shared by everyone who lives here. Um, but I had never seen such a very familiar Earth-looking spider
Wow.
imagery in Star Wars before, and I was like, qu'est-ce que c'est? Um,
Interesting.
I'm very fascinated.
For what it's worth, I think that location was also on this potentially Gorman
Yeah,
location planet, because I think out the windows you can see those same
it
stone
does look like
column
the same
structures.
architecture for sure.
So that's a pretty cool. Like there's again,
But
like
it's
if you
hard because
piece,
there's a lot of explosions.
yeah, everything's getting destroyed. It's hard to tell what's what. But I mean that goes to the point we were making earlier of a lot of these bits, a lot of these shots being from potentially the same episode,
Yeah.
or the same or same chapters. Anyway,
And
uh,
most importantly, we get Edie Karn for a brief moment
we
cackling.
do. Do you know the shot of Cassian and Bix, obviously, where Cassian triggers something and there's a big explosion?
Yes, and it feels a little like the end of Fight Club. Yes.
Yeah. Does that to you, do you think that's the ISB that they're blowing up?
I don't know.
The ISB headquarters?
I don't know. It looks like it could be,
Yeah.
but I don't feel confident about that one way or the other.
Okay.
I feel like, you could almost pick anything that we have heard about as an existing location, and the odds are decent it will get blown up in this series in
Fair.
season two.
Yeah.
It's like, did you notice that other explosion? I think that blew up that. Yeah, probably. Probably it's blown up. Um,
Yeah, considering most locations also get blown up in Rogue One. So
it's a very exploding little group of narratives. I'm trying to think, is there anything else from the trailer that you want to cover
I want to
before
ask you
we
a question. Did you
Yes.
notice a shot of Krennic? First of all, Krennic, right?
Oh yeah, we didn't
Everybody,
even talk about that.
we didn't mention he's back. Everybody knows by now, but heck yeah, Krennic's back.
Yeah,
Fantastic. Did you
yeah.
notice in one shot where it looked like he had some sort of additional ornamentation or decoration on his cape and his collar?
I didn't actually.
There's a shot, it's like a profile shot with other Imperials in the background, and there's something on his shoulder. It's almost like the epaulette kind of thing that Thrawn has, but it's black and it's on his cape. And then it looks like there's something else on his collar. Um, I don't know what it means, just thought it was interesting.
Interesting. I'm scrubbing through right now, looking.
Maybe it's some sort of
Okay.
formal
Okay,
regalia.
I'm looking at one where he's looking out a window and I think I know which shot you're talking about, and I think he might be at the wedding
Oh,
because it looks like in that shot, I still haven't gotten to it, but there's one shot of him where he is working the smarmy charm. Where is it? I
yeah.
missed it. And he behind him is Davos Skulden.
Oh, okay.
Um, I'm having a
Yeah, my note says Krennic looking smug, some kind of ornamentation on his
trying to
collar. It's after the shot of Dedra. I guess
okay.
I think the only shot of Dedra we get in the trailer. So
Yeah, hold on. Let me mute this and play it and see if I can find it. Okay, there's some more Dedra shot. There he is. I think that is definitely Davos Skulden in the background, and I cannot tell if there is what looks like a feminine face at 3/4 in the immediate foreground to the point that it's out of focus.
mm-hmm.
And I kind of think that might be Mon Mothma, but I'm not positive. So this could just be a matter of like a formal dress situation.
Yeah, that would be
Because what I
cool.
did notice is like a silver piece on his collar.
Yes.
Um, but I hadn't really clicked on for some reason it does look like a black, almost like a pauldron
Mm,
on his shoulder of his white suit, whatever he's wearing. You can't tell if it's capey in this instance, but the
true.
cut of that neckline does look like his overcape. So it may just be like a formal dress.
I'd be
Excuse
down
me.
with that. I'd like to see some of that. It sort of reminds me of the formal attire that in the first season of Andor, whoever, I forget his name, but he was at the um where they did the heist, and he had his family there, and he was
Oh yeah,
putting
yeah, yeah.
on a belt or something that was too tight. It didn't fit him
Aldani.
anymore. Aldani, there it
Yeah.
is. Yeah. So we know that the Imperials have like formal wear that they can wear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the reason why I think that Davos Skulden in the background there, it's the pieced, really geometric looking robe that Davos is also wearing in the scene where there's like what looks like a mobile fireworky party event thing going on. Um and he's wearing the same outfit there, which I took to be probably wedding related activities.
That makes sense.
Like I in my head, and I have no basis for this, but the Rite of Spring situation is probably some sort of pre-party. And then the like maybe an engagement party, and
Mm.
then the more formal looking the fireworks made me think it has to be the wedding because of course that's how I think of Marie Antoinette and Louis the 16th getting married with lots of fireworks, which has its own historical interesting thing. Um which caused a lot of actual fires, but
Oops.
interesting in a way that was not good for people. By the way, many people died because of that little wedding ceremony. But yeah, so I think that's probably the wedding, and if that's the case, then that's why I think Krennic's at the wedding,
I think that makes perfect sense.
which would make sense because they are both fancy pants unicorn people who would know high-ranking fancy pants officers,
Yes.
and Krennic is surely this is a man who likes a good cocktail and an hors d'oeuvre. Like he's not a he wants to hobnob is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Um
absolutely.
I'm so excited. I'm so nervous. I mentioned this last week when I was talking to Tori and Savannah that I'm worried that I will somehow miss this when we're in Japan.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, if we're lucky enough, I assume, as you've already discussed, that they're going to do some sort of premiere event there. Obviously, it will be hard to get into. And then if folks are traveling after that, it's possible to not be able to watch the second chapter. So, yeah, it might be hard to watch. Sorry, don't have a panic attack.
No,
We'll
I'll be
figure out a
fine.
way.
Here, the good thing is it's still going to be there, right?
That's right.
We'll
That's
just
right.
come home and wallow in it for a week.
Yeah.
Not even. I get home on the 26th, so I'll have a couple days to really like hardcore watch it over and over before there's more.
Yeah. So much more. I think the last thing I'll point out, because I know we've been probably talking about this more than we planned to, but the last thing I want to point out are the very cool, what seem to be ISB operatives or ISB troopers. So you have the Imperials in the white jackets and the black pants, but wearing armor.
Yeah.
Awesome looking stuff. I always love a good Imperial outfit that could be potentially good for cosplay.
Mm-hmm.
Something that's a little more than an Imperial officer, but not a full stormtrooper, because those are notoriously difficult to wear, especially when you're at a con. You can't even sit if you're in a stormtrooper costume.
Yeah.
So something like this is aces for that.
Yeah. Do you know what I also wondered? This is cockamamie. Please don't put any stock in this.
Uh-huh.
But the thing that occurred to me watching that brief little shot of them like walking down a hallway with weapons or whatever was like, damn, all those dudes look really tall. And then I was like, wait, are these somehow related to Death Troopers?
Ooh.
Because they're all taller than standard height, also.
I
So then
like
there was
that.
part of me that was like, is this Krennic's like proto guard that evolves to that? But
I
I
like that a lot,
I don't
because that could also
know.
explain why we don't see these guys, this kind of trooper, ever again,
Right.
that they turn into something else. Although then it brings up the question of like, and I don't know if there was ever a definitive answer on the cybernetic
About right, their augmentations and stuff.
augmentation
I don't think we
aspect.
have a hard line on how any of that works, but I could be
Yeah,
wrong.
I don't think so either. Yeah,
But I agree with you. That's a great walker costume. Like
so cool.
being able to actually see and get around things and not clonk into people. And
Yeah, I've been wanting to put together some sort of Imperial cosplay
you
for a while
have?
now. Yeah, I mean, I only do the good guys, and I've always wanted to do something Imperial, and that could be a really good candidate.
I see.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at you in a whole new light, Maximilian. Um, okay, so moving on,
Okay.
and I won't give this a ton of time because gossip happened.
Yeah.
Kathy Kennedy, there has been in the last week and some change, just a flurry of theoretical fan fiction being reported like it's actual fact.
For a change.
But what is interesting is that a lot of like entertainment news outlets that normally aren't so much in the gossip zone
Yeah.
picked it up and started running it. And finally, Deadline said, did anybody actually call Kathy Kennedy and get her take? So they did. Praise them. And I
Yeah.
want to make sure that I credit um, Mike Fleming Jr., who wrote that article and did that interview, where she just says, I'm not retiring.
Mm-hmm.
I really honestly love her statement of, I will never retire from movies. I will die making movies.
Yeah.
Um, that being said, the structure of leadership may change because she knows she's not gonna have the job she currently has forever. Like she would never want it forever.
Right.
And she wants to make sure there is a plan for when she does decide she doesn't want that, executive role, that there are people that are ready to do it. That's just good leadership. Um,
Absolutely.
so if anybody has not read the Deadline article, I really also loved because he asked, what do you make of this fixation on your job status? And her response was, I truly don't know.
Yeah.
Um, it,
Seriously.
it's a I it's and she also says it all has just been manufactured because there is all of this constant. I mean, I understand what it is. We've talked about it on the show many times, right? It's clickbait. People make money off of the, panic and hate and whatever views that they get from it. But like I'm so thankful that she did that interview because so often the take from a lot of big companies, but definitely Disney and Lucasfilm do it where there's negative stuff going on and it gets picked up in the press and they never address it. They kind of do the ignore it, it'll go away thing. And I'm really glad she took the call and did that interview and was like, no, no, for the third time, no.
Yeah. I think one of the interesting things that the article brought up was the comparison between her and Kevin Feige.
Yes.
Whereas, there was a time where Kevin Feige was sort of, had the Midas touch. Every Marvel movie was great. He couldn't do any wrong. And then, as with anything, nobody can, you know, have every time at bat be a home run. You know, Marvel movies stopped being perfect every time. But as far as I can see, Marvel fans don't go after Kevin personally the same way Star Wars fans seem to go after Kathleen.
I don't think so, no. I mean, I'm not as in that fan space, so I don't feel super informed on the matter, but it doesn't
Yeah.
seem like it.
No, I mean, people can be critical of Marvel and people can be critical of Lucasfilm and Disney, but like to try and pin any sort of quote unquote failure only on her shoulders is
It's so weird.
disingenuous. It's
It's so
disingenuous.
weird. Yes, it is. It also, like I said, it's just corporate fanfic. It's like made by people that don't understand how media companies run.
Yeah,
And they just have a vague notion that they think they know. And like that's not anything to base news on.
right.
Because it's not, as I always say on the show, like if you've worked in media for any point of time, any amount of time, you know that probably the most boring explanation of why something, or the most logical explanation of why something happened is boring as hell.
Hmm.
It's like, oh yeah, we couldn't
We
we
had a
couldn't
meeting
get the
about it.
that actor got real busy, so we had to table it.
Yeah.
We love him. We'd love to have him back. We just can't do it right now. And she even referenced some of that like
Yeah.
schedule shift, like you don't. I also love that she did mention that. Like she's working on the Sean Levy movie, but like she's very frank. Like we announce things, but they don't always come to fruition. Everybody that works in this industry knows you're working on a lot of projects at once, and you know not all of them will get to the finish line.
Yeah. I will say that there's something there because I remember that they would do these presentations. I don't know if this was just, and they never did it again. I remember there was, I think, some sort of investor call. It was where they
Yeah.
announced like the droid story and Lando show and all these things. And I do think that that kind of information dump probably, and to do it in a way that makes it seem to perhaps the people that don't know how these things work, which admittedly at the time I think was myself, like I thought they were saying these are all the projects that we're doing and you're going to
Hmm.
see all these things, because that's kind of the confidence with which they presented it. And obviously it's an investor call, so you're going to present with confidence that these things are
Right.
happening, but those are just things that were in development. And I think people need to understand, as you are saying, Holly, that when something is in development, that doesn't necessarily mean we're going to see it, unfortunately.
Yeah. And it is tricky because part of the problem is that investor calls have become fan events,
Yeah.
which did not used to be the case, right?
No.
Nobody was like, I'm gonna get on the Paramount call and see what they what? Like, can you imagine if somebody said that to you in the 90s? You'd be like, wow, you are hardcore. Um, and now it's all part and parcel of the same sort of media blitz that we get as fans. And I do think that's kind of unhealthy just because I understand the desire for transparency, but it is a different thing to tell people that understand the industry, here's what we're working on, versus
Yeah.
for then people who are home consumers to receive that information and get very attached to it. It's like but
Yeah.
like so I don't know the solve because I want to know all the stuff too. I understand. Listen, I'm still fingers, toes, toe hair, whatever I got, I'm crossing it so that the Lando project happens in whatever format it happens in. I need more capes. I need more Lando. I need the smooth operator. Um,
I mean, that was the other interesting thing that came out of this article was a pretty interesting sort of status update on all the projects that are currently on the
yeah,
table. You know, she talked about um you already mentioned the Sean Levy project,
yeah,
which apparently, again, rumor, but the rumor is that Ryan Gosling is circling this project. So
yeah.
we'll
Who
see if that
knows?
happens. And that is going to take place 5 or 6 years after The Rise of Skywalker. May
Yeah,
have some sequel characters back, but mostly new characters, I believe, is what the article said.
yeah. Which sounds great.
Um, you have Simon Kinberg's Star Wars trilogy.
Yeah.
They are saying that that's going to be the new saga. I don't really know what this means. I don't know if this is all new characters. I think it is, and a new story. So it's kind of like they're trying to set up a new arm of the
A sequel
franchise that will
sequel.
keep rolling in the foreseeable future. It sounds like. Obviously, Mandalorian Grogu's coming out next year. Then there's the Daisy Ridley movie that's in development that a new writer got attached to recently.
Yeah.
Um, I think that was supposed to come out at the end of next year, but we'll see. James Mangold's Dawn of the Jedi movie, uh, the
And then she
Lando
mentioned
project,
the Taika project that
right?
still exists.
Which is interesting. I was surprised to hear her confirm that that's still potentially happening because there it's been a while with that one. Sounds like he's very, very busy.
Yeah.
Um, Probably very hard to get a draft out of because he's so busy.
Uh-huh.
Um, but that's great. I'm excited to see whatever that is. We had the Dave Filoni movie, which will tie up or at least, conclude the chapter of storytelling that started with The Mandalorian.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's also, I guess, Rogue Squadron technically is not dead.
Yeah, I don't know. Wait, did she mention that in here?
No,
No.
but I'm just looking at a full list, and I supposedly Patty Jenkins said she's working on it as recently as March of last year, which I guess now is not so
Oh,
recent.
yeah. Yeah, I thought you meant like something new.
No, sorry.
Yeah, we'll see.
No,
I mean,
yeah,
I really would love, and I always love when this does happen, when they announce something and it's like, and it's going to be out in 2 months. Great. Done. It's locked. At that point, they're in the can. They're
that's how it
finishing
used
up
to be.
effects.
You used to walk down the street and see a movie opening, next week. I had no idea. This movie was coming, and that was
Yeah.
always fun.
Yeah.
You know.
Yes. All right. Now
Okay.
it's time. I worry that you worked way too hard on this, but
Why would you think that? No.
because of all the questions you sent me. So Max and I have long discussed, and this may be part 1 of 2. We can have you back. As I think most Star Wars fans would agree, one of the very best things about Star Wars, listen, it's not the Jedi, it's not the Force, it's not diabolical politics, it's the jackets.
It's the jackets, yes.
So, and Max and I have often waxed rhapsodic about how good the jackets of Star Wars are. So we decided we would do a top 5 list of each of our favorite jackets, which it turns out is very hard because someone on this podcast was like, I've narrowed it to 22, and it's not me. So,
Well, no, I will say that I didn't narrow it to 22. I literally just so far could count
22.
20, well, it's now 23. 23 different 24. I just thought of another one that's not on my list. 24.
It's going up.
It's going up. Anyway, yeah. But I was able to, very difficult task to really narrow it down to my top 5. So I am ready for
I am
5.
actually, I surprised myself with the nature of my top 5, which we
Me
can talk about at the end.
too.
All right, Max, kick us off.
Are we going 5
We
down
don't have to go
1?
in any particular order, but if you want to, we can.
I'll go 5 down to 1.
Okay.
So my 5th most favorite Star Wars jacket
Yes.
is the one that Hera wears in the Ahsoka TV show, the streaming show. Her leather bomber jacket with the shearling collar, crop with the really cool collar design that Shauna did. I am a sucker for aviator jackets in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah,
this idea that Shauna introduced, which, footnote, while making my list, I actually found out that John Mallow did sketches of the X-Wing pilots for the very first Star Wars movie wearing bomber flight jackets. So this was an idea that John Mallow had from the very beginning that wasn't introduced until The Mandalorian and Ahsoka. So that floors me. That's super cool to me. So that's my I love her jacket. I love her look. That's my 5th favorite jacket.
I'm almost scared of this list. I really am. So my coming in at number 5 is Han Solo's Empire Strikes Back jacket.
Mm-hmm.
Another John Mallow creation, sort of.
Yes. Absolutely.
It's the classic. I think it's the one where I was like, yes, jackets with put a pocket on the back you can't even get to. That sounds great. I want that.
He's a smuggler. He needs as many pockets as possible.
Right? What is he putting back there? I have questions.
Crackers.
I remember joking with friends when I was a kid that that's where he put snacks for Chewie. Because he couldn't reach him, but I bet Chewie could behind him be like, "Do you got my protein bar?"
It makes so much
And
sense.
there it would
Yeah.
be. So that's my pick
I
for
love that.
fifth. It's the first Star Wars jacket I tried to make a version of.
Mm.
And I have made a number of them over the years in various levels of success. Like I made a running version of it for Brian when we were doing a lot of Disney races, and he has a more robust version of it. There was a time when like amongst the Stitchies of Star Wars fandom, there was a person who put together a pattern that they were selling that was pretty close, and that was a
Mm.
very exciting moment in the costumey herds. It's just a classic.
How recently was that?
Oh, years.
Okay. Okay.
15 years?
Okay. I'm just wondering if it was somebody that I had in my head, but it's not. Okay. Uh, number four.
Mm-hmm.
For me, number four is Kira's white leather double-breasted leather jacket from Solo: A Star Wars Story.
Interesting.
Um, First of all, I think all the costumes in that movie are fantastic.
Yes, they are.
Glyn Dillon, genius, genius costume designer who also did Rogue One, which will come up in my list as well. But yeah, I just love that jacket that she wears. If I could find, you know, a man version of that jacket, I would absolutely want to own it.
It's interesting that you mention that that's the one. One of my honorable mentions is her other jacket from the first segment, which actually is kind of in that shearling aviator jacket style that you like so much. It's a slightly different cut and it's cropped, but it's in that space.
Absolutely.
I love all of the Solo has good clothes.
So good. So good. Perhaps the best dressed Star Wars movie.
It might be because it is also my number 4 jacket.
Okay.
Which is Han's brown and black jacket in that. Which let me tell you what an achievement that jacket is. Do you know what color I don't like? Brown.
Uh,
But I love that jacket
mhm,
because it's just so good. It
mhm.
suits Alden Ehrenreich so well. It looks perfect. It's Han Solo.
Yeah. Yeah.
In a film full of Lando capes, that jacket still looks amazing
Yeah.
while not looking fussy or,
Right.
like that's
Yes.
good costume design.
It's so good. And it's funny. This jacket earlier today was in my top five.
Yeah?
The Han Solo suede jacket was in my top five, but
It's a good one. It's a
I
really good
tweaked it
one.
a few times and it definitely is in the top 10. But anyway, I agree. Fantastic jacket. I It's one of the Han Solo costume pieces I personally do not own. But I love it. And it's what's fun about it, I guess this is maybe a fun fact, maybe not. You tell me. Um, the shoulder panels are not black. The shoulder
Right.
panels are midnight blue
Yeah. Which I like to not acknowledge.
because probably in universe they're probably supposed to be black, but they were
No,
probably
my
made
reason is that my
oh
other hated color is the navy midnight blue space.
okay, got it.
I hate navy blue with a passion that is difficult to explain and has
Yeah,
no rationality other than just wear black. Why? Why with the navy blue? Again, if it's your favorite color, I'm sorry. I'm not
no,
insulting your taste to anybody listening, but I just hate it. So the
that's
fact that that jacket is
that's okay. I just think it's interesting that I think it's probably supposed to be black, but they made it blue just so it would look black in camera and not be just a total void of darkness.
yeah, well, because on that film, um, the lighting design used almost exclusively in situ lighting. Like they don't
Mm-hmm.
have stage lights added in, which is really interesting. I also
Yeah.
think it's funny because it kind of harkens back to the Hoth jacket, which is brown/blue.
Yes.
Just like another wonderful Han associated article of clothing that is not the colors you think it is.
Yeah, same with his Bespin jacket.
Yeah.
Um, so where are we? You was that your number 4? His suede jacket, was that your number 4? Okay.
Yes.
My number 3, again by Glenn Dillon, as far as I know, is Cassian Andor's, and in fact, I guess the entire Rebel Alliance militaries, the jackets they wore.
Yeah.
The military jackets, Cassian had a brown one, Jin had a green one, there were blue ones, I think, with what up until that point had been known as the Carillion blood stripe, but I guess is no longer that. It's just a military stripe that was on the jacket sleeve. I loved the pocket for the comm badge. I just love everything about that jacket. So smart, so functional, so versatile. It looks great under a vest. Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome.
I also this is not part of my list, but there's a thing that happens in that movie, and it also pops up in, I think Force Awakens is the first place we saw it. The asymmetrical yoke panels. So it would be like one shoulder would have a different color instead of symmetry, and that just sets off fireworks of joy in my heart. I love asymmetry in clothes anyway.
Yeah.
Or
and stitching, or vertical stitching on one shoulder, not the other. Yeah. So good.
I love it so much.
Yeah.
I'm gonna jump away from Solo for a moment for my number 3. And from Andor as well. No, I'm into Andor. This is not a jacket that gets much actual play on screen. Most of my love of it is from promotional images. There is a long-sleeved, and I need to specify that because there's also a short-sleeved one. There is a long-sleeved orange work jacket that Brasso wears in promotional shots for Andor that I am so in love with. I think I would propose to that jacket.
Is it the jacket that has the pleating on the sleeves and the bib,
It does. It has that, and it has a yellow on yellow banding on the waistband and the cuffs. And it's interesting because in the show, I think you only see it once for a second. It's when they're surveilling his house. Other than that, you see him in a short sleeve work jacket that has the same design notes. It has the yellow on yellow banding, etc. But it's a shorter sleeve that goes over his workwear. But that long sleeve one.
Holly, amen. This jacket was on my list. It's in my top 10.
It is.
I honestly thought it might, when I first started making the list, I thought it might be in my top 5, but it's in my top 10. I love that jacket. My favorite jacket in all of Andor, actually.
Which is saying something.
Yeah. Because there's some great jackets in Andor.
There's a lot of good clothes.
Yeah.
Number 2.
Number 2. So, sort of, this is really, to me, prototypical Star Wars jacket. And it really is when you think about it in a lot of ways. This is Luke Skywalker's Yavin jacket.
His award ceremony
jacket. So this jacket I loved for so many years. When Hasbro finally made the action figure, I went out and I bought it and I put it on my nightstand and I just stared at it endlessly. When Master Replicas made a pretty affordable replica jacket, I bought it. It was of okay quality, but beautiful jacket. And what's great about it, which is an element that really has kept showing up in Star Wars media to this day, I believe it's the first, there were 2 jackets in Star Wars that had this, but it was one of the first jackets that had the pleated sleeves.
Yeah.
I think the other jacket is I'll just call him Walrus Man because that's his name, really. He had the orange version of that jacket in the cantina, I think.
Right.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, Greedo has the pleated sleeves on his
he does.
jumpsuit.
You're right. So this was something that John Mallow sketched on a lot of costumes for A New Hope and made it into other jackets, like in the Snowspeeder jackets in Empire Strikes Back, and even if you look at like Finn's jacket in The Force Awakens.
Yeah, it's like part of the DNA of Star Wars
Yeah,
clothes.
it really is.
But
And
it
it's
comes
so,
from racing jackets.
yeah.
Because I actually have minor beef with your number 2.
Ah.
Because when I look at that jacket, being a stitchy little shrew, it looks so much to me like they just cut the zip off a jacket and put bias binding on it that I'm like, really? Which is what they did.
I mean, be that as it may, Holly,
But
it is
it is
the
cool.
prototype for most Star Wars jackets to this
Yes.
day.
Yes. Yes.
Now, here's the thing. I thought for a long time that was that the pleating on the sleeve was an element that existed in the racing jacket that they got. But as I was making this list, I started to find suggestions that this was an element that was added to the jacket by John Marlowe's, costume design. Is that, as far as you know, not the case?
I don't know that it is.
Mm.
And I'll tell you why. And I am not going from any like information other than my own experiential, but when I have followed those costumes around like they're the Grateful Dead to see them in any museum that will have them, they always very much look like you can tell when you stitch a lot what's an add-on, even if it's
Mm.
very good most of the time,
Mm-hmm.
you can tell. And those do not vibe that way to me, especially in comparison to the bias binding, which very much looks like an add-on. So I don't know. He may have just known here is stock stuff we can use and really play this up. I mean, in subsequent items, I think it definitely got used to maintain that visual through line.
Sure.
But I think for A New Hope, it might have been there already.
That makes sense. That's what I initially had thought, but then I started doubting. But that makes sense.
My number 2 is a wild departure stylistically, to the point that I almost was like, does this count? Because you and I had a little thing. We didn't give each other rules, but you had given yourself rules, and I had happened to give myself the same rules. That vests don't count. It has to be a jacket. Um, and this, I was like, does this count? It's Dryden Voss's suit jacket.
That counts to me. Yeah.
So I was lucky enough to visit Lucasfilm when it was on display there.
Mm.
I'm just making the oh my gosh face. The tailoring on that thing is next level. It's
Mm.
perfect.
Yeah.
It's got beautiful draping. I mean, this is again another, magical Glendillan situation. The draping is perfect. The architecture of it, it's architecturally a really interesting jacket in terms of how they have seamed that cape element into it without it being clunky, without it detracting from like the beautiful line of a well-tailored jacket. It's one of the most perfect garments of all time in my book. Of all time. In or out of Star Wars of all time. And if I could pull that biz off, I would make myself one, but I cannot.
Oh.
You kind of have to be a tall, willowy creature like Paul Bettany
Like
to
Paul
make it really
Bettany.
work. And
Yeah.
I am not that.
No
So
one's Paul Bettany except Paul Bettany.
I
Yeah.
feel like you could actually pull that off though, because you are tall and you're very lean and you have an elegant line to yourself.
Oh, well,
I
thank
think you
you.
could pull that off actually.
I will look into that. No, his costume is incredible. I
It is,
when
and
we
it doesn't visually play that wildly fascinating on screen. It's like the design lines are cool.
it's a silhouette mostly on screen.
Oh, but then when you see it
Yeah.
in person, it's
Yeah.
incredible.
Wow.
Incredible.
Good choice.
That's my number 2.
All right.
That
My
puts us at
my
Max's number 1.
my number one choice. This is very difficult, but ultimately I went with Luke Skywalker's Bespin / Dagobah fatigue jacket
The
from Empire Strikes
fatigues, as I
Back.
like to call
The
them as a
fatigues.
kid, because I didn't know how to say fatigues.
The fatigues. Which really is almost just a tan version of Han Solo's
Yeah, very
Bespin
close.
jacket.
Very close.
Similar pockets, similar structure. It's obviously slimmer wearing on Mark Hamill.
Yeah.
It's you know it's uh um it's almost resembles a jumpsuit at times. And I know
Yeah.
that's partly because the pants he wore in that outfit when he had the jacket on were basically like extremely high waisted, possibly almost up to his chest with suspenders.
Yeah.
So that when he moved around and he maybe lifted the jacket up, you wouldn't see the shirt underneath. It would just continue the color of
Yeah.
the jacket or the pants. And then when he took the jacket off, they switched him into regular waisted pants
Yeah.
that he wore that tank top with. But that jacket has always been a favorite. When I was in my late teens, I ordered a jacket, a Luke Skywalker Bespin jacket from the Star Wars fan club. And
Yeah.
that was my first lesson in disappointment with licensed costumes.
Yeah.
And well, mostly because really what it comes down to is tailoring. Like that thing was cut, however it was cut wasn't tailored for me. And that's the kind of like that costume has to be tailored for you for it to look right.
Yes. 100%.
So I sent it back, but still love it. And again, classic John Mallow, really amazing, simplistic, but effective costume design.
Okay. I thought you were going to say my number one when you said your
Ooh.
number five.
Uh-huh.
In Ahsoka, when Hera is in front of the senators,
Mm-hmm.
she and Carson Teva, who is also in the gallery, have on
Ooh.
what appears to be like not their pilot's jacket, but like a dress jacket. I don't know that I've ever wanted, like, for my real life, a Star Wars garment more than those jackets. They're these beautiful tone on tone, kind of like a very cool tone tan. They have this beautiful swoopy inlay detailing on the front. They have what you were talking about with like some line textures. They also have a fun detail, and this is again the amazing Shauna Terpsick, who I still am in mourning for.
Yeah.
Instead of doing a stripe down the sleeve, the front is solid, and then the back of the sleeve, it's a two-piece sleeve. The whole back of the sleeve is that quilted material. Everything about this jacket is perfection. It looks gorgeous on Hera. She has the very cropped version that's very tailored to her. It
Mm-hmm.
looks amazing on Carson Teva. His is tailored to him. It's a slightly boxier, looser fit, but it looks super perfect and immaculate.
Mm-hmm.
Everything about those jackets is an A plus. I'm obsessed with them.
I also love
Obsessed.
those jackets.
Obsessed.
Um, that's a good number one. Do they also have the classic pleated sleeve? The horizontal
No.
pleated sleeve? They don't?
No, like I've said, the sleeve is on it's on the back side. Do you know what I'm saying? Like if you looked at
Kind
them
of.
from the
I'm
front,
gonna
you
look.
would only see the what looks like, a twill or a duck kind of fabric.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pull up my picture because I know I have some handy. Um, maybe I don't. And then the whole back is the textured thing. It's not a stripe, it's a hold on. Let's see. Trying to find. I know I have this somewhere and I should have it super handy. That's not it. Hold on. There's a picture of Hera where you can see her the long line of her arm. Um and it's from like a 3/4 angle, and
Okay.
you can see that it's it's a different texture on the back, and I'm trying to find it. So it doesn't do the stripe. It does like from an angle, it almost looks like a stripe. Maybe I'm wrong. You know what? I'm a liar, pants on fire.
Uh-oh.
Because now I'm looking at a different thing, and it does look like a stripe down the side. But there was one angle where I swear it looked like it went all the way around to the back. In any case, it is
Okay.
beautiful. This
In any case,
jacket
it's an
is
awesome jacket.
perfection. We all need one. It's on my list of things to make myself one day, or some variation on it.
Sign me up, Holly.
Oh, I just love it so much. I want
It's
it.
a great jacket. I saw that jacket and I love the how they incorporated the rank badge, the classic
Oh, it's so good.
rank badge, and then this new little piece of GAC. Oh, can we talk about I want to talk about GAC for a second.
Yeah.
So these comm badges and communicator whatever things and rank badges that are in Star Wars jackets, I think, calling them a badge is fine, calling them a comm badge or a rank badge is fine. A lot of times they're referred to, especially on like Etsy shops and whatever, as greeblies.
Yeah.
And this is, it's one of those things where words and the meanings of words evolve and language evolves. And I'm not going to be one of those people that, puts their foot down and says, you can't use this word if you want to. But technically, a greebly is not that. Technically, a greebly is a little piece of usually model kit texture that you put on a model to create, a little dimension. It's just like a little.
It's visual interest.
Thank you, visual interest. A greebly might be something you put on a comm badge to create a little bit of something, interesting. I found out that internally on these Star Wars shows, they call these things GAC. So this
does that stand for something, or is it?
No, I don't know where it comes from, and the person that told me didn't know where it came from either. But like this new little badge that's worn under her rank thing, this horizontal thing with the red button, that's the kind of thing they would refer to as GAC. Yeah. So GAK. So I just think it'd be fun if
this is Max's soapbox. Let's fix.
That's right.
Let's fix the vocabulary.
I think it'd be fun if everybody they don't have to use it. They don't have to use it. I think it'd be fun if people knew that, though. I think it's just a fun little bit of trivia.
It is. I also told you, because I know your list was much longer than this, and we both have many jackets we love, that we could do a quick honorable mentions where we won't maybe talk about them as much, but we will definitely at least give them a little moment in the sun, because we are definitely over time, which I don't care, but sorry, listeners.
Well, I'm going to skip my, most of my top 10 because they came up in yours, and I'll go to my last two, my number 9 and 10, because 6 through 9 or 6 through 7, 5, 6 and sorry, I can count 6, 7 and 8 all came up already. So 9 for me was Poe Dameron's Last Jedi jacket.
Yeah.
Love that. Again, kind of that bomber feel. I love that it sort of had this aesthetic of like something that had been handed down to him.
Yeah.
The old weathered Rebel Alliance patch.
Yeah.
Gorgeous. I tried to get a replica of that jacket, and it was the bane of my existence because they used some sort of coat. It looked like leather. It wasn't leather in the film. It had some sort of coating on it. Impossible to figure out exactly what it was. And then I'll just give you my number 10, which again was from Shauna, was Sabine Wren's Moto / Speeder jacket.
That was in circulation for me briefly. Yeah, my surprise was how many of these were for me from the modern stuff and not the older stuff.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because the DNA all got set there.
Well, and that's super apparent, especially in things like Sabine, with the pleated sleeves and everything was all stuff that was brought forward from the original stuff.
I have 3 honorable mentions. The first is really just for the fun of it is Fern's Inside Out jacket.
Oh, so good.
And I have cracked up a little bit because a lot of people don't seem to realize that's what's going on. I'm like, that's her school jacket, it's inside out. I just think that's a great way to telegraph who that character is. Super cool. I saw one person arguing that couldn't be what it was because you can't see the stitching of the patches on the other side, and I'm like,
It's not that kind of
Oh, my
film.
brother in the Force. That's not a thing you have to have. You can literally hand stitch onto lining. It's not a problem. But my second honorable mention is literally everyone on Ferrix. Not you, Tim, but everyone else on Ferrix. I'll never forgive him. I know he died, but it's fine. My third is a little bit predictable, but not. It's a character you're going to be like, I don't know who that is. It's Jacoli from the Clone Wars. He comes up in the box. He's a bounty hunter. He's a Rhodian. And if you remember the episodes in the Clone Wars with Greedo, where he kidnaps Baron Papanoida's kids, he has like a jacket on that's a brown on brown kind of the jackets we love, but obviously simplified because it's in a cartoon. Um, but because it was brown, I didn't love it as much as when they reskinned the character to create this other Rhodian bounty hunter. And that one, the jacket is like this dusty rose and burgundy pairing, and I love it. I love it so much. So, those are my honorable mentions.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah, Fern's jacket. I have the Adat school jackets, but I agree that hers is a separate jacket. And also I love the fact that when she goes home, she turns it right side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, people that didn't realize that was what that was were not rebellious kids, because I know this entire dance left and right. Um, I, I'm like, yeah, conceal, conceal. I love everything about it. I love it. Those kids' jackets are really good though too. Um, Perhaps we'll do this with other
Yeah.
clothing of Star Wars.
Well,
Best
because there's a whole
pants.
other aspect that we didn't get to, which we don't have to today, but then it's the which you alluded to in terms of making your own jackets, but is how many Star Wars jackets do we own? Like how many Star Wars jackets do I have in my closet right now?
I don't know that we're gonna do that because we don't do that kind of reckoning here at this house, Max. You've been to my house. It's full of crazy things. We don't count because that could
All
be
right. I
hurtful.
like that. I
It
like
could be
that.
very upsetting.
Let's not go there. You're right.
And we'll just sometimes get a wild hair and be like, I'll make another Spacer's jacket, and now I have too many.
Yeah,
Never enough opportunities to wear them. Maybe it will be cool enough in Japan. We'll see.
I hope so.
We'll see. Um, Max, what a delight. Thank you
This
for
was so much
spending this
fun.
time with me. My soul needs this, like
Mine too.
Star Wars chats with friends, with Andor, with Kathy Kennedy News, with clothes, my favorite thing to talk about. Um, where can people find you?
People can find me mostly on Instagram these days. Last Max Standing is my personal account. You can also find me at Last Max Studios, where I showcase some of my custom Star Wars Black Series figures and other sorts of Star Wars props. Yeah, I'll see you out there.
Did you happen to notice that the custom cape that you made me for my birthday last year is the star of the Hut Tongs Day shirts this
I
year?
did, and I
Yeah.
love it. Yeah,
Yeah.
one of these years, I will make it to Hut Tongs Day.
Ooh, I'm excited. I think the day this episode drops, I will be celebrating Hut Tongs Day in
Awesome.
Disney World. So, for those of you that don't know, Hut Tongs Day is our made up in universe version of Mardi Gras. You want to drink and be joyous, and also please donate to causes that feed people because we need to help each other more than ever right now. And I want everybody to have plenty. So, you can find me as Shirley Girly 5 on Instagram. I don't know my own handles. I don't know where my boss's office is. I don't know my social media handles. I don't know how I get through a day. But I can make a jacket, so things work out. And you can find me also on Blue Sky as Holly Fry. Of course, Brian Young is available at swankmatron.com, and he's Swankmatrons on all the socials. Our amazing and wonderful delight of my life, Mike Pilot, is at the mic, and Max has something else to add.
I'm sorry. I just want to do a quick shout out. So there is this upcoming charity auction.
Yes.
LA Strikes Back. I don't know how many folks have heard of this. You can find them on Instagram. A bunch of makers are coming together to make first responder and California inspired Star Wars helmets for auction to support first responders and fire recovery in California from the recent wildfires. The auction date has just been announced, March 23rd.
Ooh, I see that.
please put it in your calendars and support a great cause. Again, you can find us on Instagram at LA Strikes Back.
Yeah, those are going to be some amazing pieces. Like the ornament project that you participated in this past holiday season, which
Same
all went
organizers.
to Make-A-Wish, yeah, was the same people, and like the people that they have invited to contribute are like next level good. Everything is going to be a piece of art.
It's a big crew.
Yeah, and it's also just an amazing way for fandom to help out the world and make it a better place, which everybody do your part. Whatever
Yeah.
you can do is great. So yes, be sure to do that.
Thank you.
I probably trailed off because I wanted to make sure I got to Max, but our amazing producer Mike Pilot is at the mic. And we will be back here next week. I think you may not have me. I will be hut tongs staying it up probably, and maybe never come home. I will come home. It'll be fine. But we hope that we will see you back here again on Full of Sith, and the Force will be with you always.
Sir, if you'll not be meeting me, I'll close down for a while.